Perfect. All right. Hello, it's me, Cole. This is my adult learning midterm. As far as I understand, I'm supposed to talk about, a couple topics from each of the chapters, connect it, I'm just going to be talking, try to connect some moment from my life with the topics. So, with the first section, we talked about the first lesson, we talked about like different types of learning, formal, non-formal, informal, and one instance I thought was really interesting that this reminded me of is I used to be in Boy Scouts, and one summer we had the whole camp. They teach us stuff that's kind of like a non-formal type of learning, right? Where it's somewhat organized, but not like a academic setting. I kind of put myself in there, but one thing we did, this was not taught to us by the organization at all. This was just a totally like youth-directed thing. Is there's this game called Mao. It was a card game, and they wouldn't tell you the rules. And it had all of these crazy, really specific, weird rules, and no one would tell them to you. You had to just play the game and keep losing. You'd be penalized every time you do something wrong. And you just keep getting penalized over and over and over and over until you just figured it out. You had to just learn through failing to get to, how the game's actually supposed to be played, which I thought was kind of like self-directed learning, but also in a way kind of like incidental learning. Even though it's, a self-perpetuated incident, it's still the incident, the failure of doing something wrong is forcing you to kind of learn this new thing. Okay, chapter 2, I got some notes here. Okay, we talked about different theories of learning, behaviorism, like we talked about Skinner and his like conditioning, positive and negative reinforcement. One example I thought of is in 5th grade. I think I brought her up in class. I had this teacher named Mrs. Fishman, not very good teacher. She was the one that like yelled at me for screwing up my test score at one point. But shit, I think the power is like fucking weird. Here, give me a second. Sorry, the power went out, I think. So I'll do it over candlelight. Okay, so lesson 2. I was talking about Mrs. Fishman. She was the one that yelled at me for comparing test scores, even though she was the one that screwed it up. But anyways, she had a thing called the bell. She had this like small model of a Liberty Bell, but it opened up and she had a bunch of candy inside. And she would, when we got an answer right or did something she liked, she would say, "Go to the bell," and we'd get to open the bell and take out a piece of candy. But she was such a nasty person. She would make fun of us if we got something wrong or just get mad at us or something, just all the time. So it kind of worked against her. She was going for like a positive reinforcement type of thing, but actually ended up negative reinforcing it because the candy wasn't worth the risk. So we all ended up not answering her things anyways. Okay, we also talked about cognitivism, recalling, memory and stuff. My connection with this is I think it's kind of interesting that I think how you remember and how quickly you remember doesn't really have to do with like intelligence. I thought I was really, really bad at math in elementary school because we had to do these like timed math tests, like timetables. We had to do 100 problems of something times 3 in 5 minutes or whatever. And I could never pass. I couldn't get past it. We had to do all of them, and I could get a few, but I couldn't finish it. I couldn't think about math that quickly, and I still probably couldn't pass that today. But when I got older and into like higher level math classes where it wasn't just quick mental math, I was like one of the best students in the class. I found out I'm really good at math. I'm just not good at that immediate recollection of memory. Okay, lesson 3. they talked about, the importance of experience, how our experience affects, our learning and, how we behave in different situations, how we respond to necessity. One thing I thought of is I used to work at Little Caesars, and one time the oven broke, and we all stood outside. It was like leaking gas or something, so we didn't stay in the restaurant. We all stood outside, and we had to tell customers, hey, our oven's broken, we're not open right now. And one DoorDasher came to pick up an order who was deaf, and all of my coworkers were like, what do we do? But I had taken a couple semesters of ASL at that point, not enough to be like good at sign language, but enough that I was able to communicate with him what I needed to communicate. I had that extra experience that allowed me to navigate the situation better than my coworkers could. We also talked about social roles create a need to learn. I think there's certain things that I had to learn really quick when I got my latest job at Silver Lake Ramen. I was a server. Sorry, I thought I heard like something. There wasn't anything out there. What I was talking about is we learned about. I had to quickly learn like the menu. I had to learn how to say all these different items that were Japanese. I didn't know how to pronounce them. I also had to learn how to have like a thicker skin because the customers could really get after you. That type of thing. Chapter 4, we talked about motivation. Oh, yeah. We talked about those 4 steps that you, as like an adult learner, need, to perpetuate learning in a category. And the last one was you need the motivation to continue learning. One experience I had was I took guitar lessons, and I did the first steps. I knew what I wanted to learn, guitar. I had the materials. I had the guitar. I had a teacher to teach me, but I was not good at it. He was like very, had a like nose in the air type of snooty guy, all kind of elitist, and was really serious about it and did not, it was not fun with him. So I was not motivated to continue learning this. Same thing, we talked about self-directed learning. You should be allowed to fail, allowed to make mistakes in order to learn from it. I also use the guitar example there because he was not very, very angry at the mistakes. He did not like it, so it was not like something that was easy to like learn. Reese? Sorry, my chair like flew back. I thought it was my dog, but she's not there. I'm gonna take a break. I'll be back. Okay, sorry. I kind of got spooked, creeped out. I took a little break. I'm fine now. I noticed I was kind of rushing through a little bit, but I'm good. I'm good now. Here, we were talking about chapter 5. Okay. Transformational learning. That's what we're talking about. Okay, I have a couple stories to share. I want to talk about one time I kind of transformed what I thought through an experience, and the time I attempted to behave a little in some transformational learning. So, I had this ex-girlfriend named Maya, and she was very, very religious. I used to be very religious myself. She, it went well for a while, but she started becoming more and more dependent on every decision she made had to be like religiously backed. Like, oh, should we watch this movie? It's godly. Oh, I don't know if, my church thinks we should hold hands, whatever. It became very much like it drew a rift, and it kind of made me reconsider my own religion in like how many decisions I made based on it. And I've kind of had, a change in view where it's like, I'm not religious anymore. And while I support being religious, it seemed silly to me to base, big, like everything in my life around something, that I didn't even know for sure. So it kind of changed my point of view, and I kind of started living life more towards just how I wanted to live it. Okay, and then when I tried to engage in transformational learning is at my last job, Silver Lake Ramen. I talked about it a second ago. Every server there, except for me and a couple others, came from Korean restaurants. And what I learned was the Korean restaurant server way was to try to do as much as possible, as fast bussing as possible, as fast running out dishes, but also try to get customers in and out as quick as possible. Just do everything as much as possible so you can be the best, fastest server. But, I noticed that, tips were kind of low because of that. We didn't take the time to build a relationship with each customer. And I kind of tried to, transform the view there, try to open people up a little bit more to, let's take a little time, build a relationship. It didn't totally work out in my favor because no one really took me seriously, but I got the biggest tips of everyone there, so maybe they should have. Okay, chapter 6, negative experience. All right, I'm just gonna finish this up because shit's getting kind of weird here. Okay, we're on the last chapter anyways, chapter 6. Negative learning experience. Okay, I had one this year. I had to drop a class because the professor was so out of it, just did not understand what he was teaching. It was totally he was brand new to the class he was teaching, but he was just assigning random stuff. I was spending like 3 to 4 hours a night, 7 days a week, just on his work, and he wouldn't explain any of it. And we'd ask questions, and he'd just say, oh, you're not doing the readings if you don't understand. And I'd say, why are we doing this? It doesn't apply to our class. He'd be like, fine, just do this part. But he wouldn't, he clearly didn't even look at the assignments for assigning them, just assigning stuff and making us put in all the effort. He didn't do any effort. He didn't teach the lessons or anything. If you reached out to him through email or anything, which I did, he just didn't respond, or he'd say something really snooty or snarky. Just a really negative experience that totally made it so I couldn't even learn anything in that class. Not to mention a lot of stuff we were being assigned didn't have to do with what we were learning. I'll also talk about a positive experience I've had at Chapman. But I remember in the chapter we read about interaction between the educator and the learner. I had this with Dr. Stephanie Takaragawa. She taught this class called Space and Place at Disneyland. We'd literally go into Disneyland and research stuff. She was a really hard professor, and I felt like I was totally lost in her class, but she required us to do certain office hours with her and stuff. And when I actually sat down with her and talked to her, she made stuff a lot more clear. She told me, no, don't worry, it's okay if you feel like you're struggling, it's hard material. Just really made it easier to understand really difficult, dense stuff just from her talking to us about it. And that's about it. That's the end of my project. Thanks for watching.